From this moment on, I'll show you the creation of the new world.
When you ask someone what their favorite anime is, Death Note is one of the most common answers. That is for good reason. Death Note is one of the near perfect animes that are available right now. From story, character development, art style, music, it is a near perfect anime to watch. And it's a very good answer to the question. That and Full Metal Alchemist, Attack on Titan. Someone once told me Digimon, I don't talk to them anymore. But that does not mean this is an anime without flaws. There are several points of contention when discussing why this isn't a perfect anime. And this is the aim of today's video. I'm going to go through these points and see if I can offer up some type of solution to this problem, some type of edit to this whole, anime manga, to see if we cannot push this from near perfect to a perfect anime. I, the loudmouth Grenadian, I'm going to edit how Death Note should have been done. How I would have written Death Note. Please do me a favor, subscribe. I'm going to try to do these weekly now. I'm on TikTok as well. Look for me on there, loudmouth Grenadian. And yeah, let's just get straight to it. To properly analyze and look at what can be improved in the story of Death Note, we should probably summarize the story of Death Note. So, Light Yagami, a genius student, finds the Death Note. A Death Note can kill anyone as long as it has a person's name and the target knows their face. Light goes on to kill high-profile Japanese criminals. Then he goes international with it. After 5 days, he gets visited by Best Chad Ryuk. He is a Shinigami and also the previous user of the Death Note. He goes to Light because he's become so amused by Light's actions, who has now sort of not spiraled but progressed to now think himself as the new god of the world. Now, as criminals start to die off, the media has coined him as Kira, which is just a Japanese term for killers, To catch him, Interpol brings in L, and L is this just weird but intelligent detective who has been solving cases around the world for years. And so he tricks, in his first move, mind you, he tricks Light into revealing that he is in the Kanto region of Japan by tricking him into killing a decoy. This is the first moment where we see Light get triggered as he vows he's going to kill L, and this is when the mouse and cat game begins. L deduces that Kira must be within the investigation unit as he's using inside information. This leads him to coin that Light must be Kira. He just doesn't have the evidence to prove it. He begins monitoring the team. He learns enough that he is 100% positive that he is Kira. Light is recruited into the task force, thereby he can gain more information and L can keep an eye on Light. Misa Amane obtained a second notebook on a Shinigami named Ren. She also goes ahead and makes the deal with the Shinigami to gain the Shinigami eyes. This allows her to see anyone in the entire world and know their name and when they're supposed to die at the cost of half her lifespan. The reason she does this is because she wants to find out who Kira is. Due to her own backstory, she is enamored by Kira, and so she commits this deal to find out who he is. She discovers that Light is Kira. Light discovers she is the second Kira, but Light doesn't want to be friends or even a relationship. Light wants to use Mina to find out what L's real name is. But L is not too far behind, and he deduces that Misa is most likely the second Kira. He arrests her, which is when her Shinigami threatens to kill Light if he doesn't find a way to free Misa. Light plans a scheme which involves losing his memory as well as Misa losing her memory of the Death Note. And so Rem passes the Death Note over to Kisuge Higuchi. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. So now that they've both lost their memories, they're now aiming to help find out who Kira is. After some events and pretty boring arc, if I'm being honest, they catch Higuchi and Light regains his memory when they capture the Death Note. He kills Higuchi, restores Misa's memories, and they're back in it. Light instructs Misa to start killing people as Kira again. This causes them to cast suspicion on Misa. See, Light knows Rem has become infatuated by Misa, and so if it looks like Misa is going to go down for this, Rem is going to have to kill L to protect Misa. But one of the rules is, if you kill a life to extend another, as a Shinigami, your life is now forfeit. But playing into Light hands, he does this. He kills L, and he dies as a consequence. The task force decides not to announce L has passed, and so they have Light operating as L. You have the main antagonist of the story now pretending to be the protagonist of the story. It was a great flip when it happened. Since he's working on both sides, nothing happens. Nothing. Because he's just misleading the squad. About 4 years later, the work of Kira has become so well known that cults have appeared just to honor his name and worship him as a god. Now, Nier and Mello, these are two young men who were raised to be L's successors. They arrive and they are aware that L is dead, and so they suspect Light as the prime suspect. Mello, with mafia assistance, kidnaps Light's sister, and while they're trying to rescue her, Light's father is killed in the attempt. Suspicion once again falls on Misa. Light passes Misa's death note to a new individual named Teru Mikami, a guy who is obsessed with Kira. He also appoints Kiyomi Takata, his ex-girlfriend and current news anchor, to be Kira's spokesperson. Mello uses this to kidnap her, but Takata kills Mello, but is then killed by Light, thereby erasing any connection between the two. Nair uses this to see the connection between the two and arranges one final meeting between Kira and the Kira task force. Light tries to have Mikami kill Nell. However, it doesn't work, as the Death Note has been swapped out at this point. When you go from the way he was going to kill Nair, he had a list of all the members of the task force, excluding Light's name. Therefore, it reveals Light is Kira. Light gets shot, Teru stabs himself, and he begs Ryuk to kill everyone. But Ryuk writes L's name in the Death Note, and he dies before declaring himself the new god of the world. Although I've brutally summarized the plot of Death Note, you still get the appeal of the series. And Light started off as this character bent on protecting the world from evil. However, he became the very thing he hated the most. However, watching just getting through this plot, you can see that there's sort of little problems when you watch it in full. When you watch it and you read every chapter, you can see that there's this problem. And, well, let's just go through them. So the first problem, his name is Kyosuke Higuchi. He's a forgettable character who ultimately does not leave an impact, as he's just a scapegoat. Going into more detail, he received the Death Note from Rem, only receiving it because Light wanted to find someone who was greedy, forceful, and selfish, someone who would use the Death Note for his own personal benefit. Ren tells him to carry out the routine of killing out criminals, then he can do whatever he wants to. He's part of this business group called the Yotsuba Group, and he meets with them to discuss who in other businesses should they kill so they can maintain dominance in their respective business areas. They don't know that he is Kira, they just think, one of the other members of the group is Kira. And so what happens next is Rem, helps in catching Higuchi, thereby helping Misa, because Rem again is the love of Misa. And so Misa tricks Higuchi into admitting he's Kira, because Higuchi sees this fine lady, he's like, yo, yeah, I'm Kira, I'm that Kira, the Kira that saved your life apparently, yeah, that's me. And so when it's time for him to be captured, he's betrayed by his Yotsuba group, who catch him out on live TV. He takes the deal to get the eyes and uses it to evade the police for a short time. However, he is later cornered on the highway and then killed by Light. At the end of the day, he leaves no impact on the story. He doesn't, change how Light looks. He doesn't change how L looks at it. He does little to change the plot. At the end of the day, he's a scapegoat character. However, we spend a massive amount of time looking for him, trying to decide who he is, his motivations, what he's going to do next. All this time can be dedicated to other areas, which I'm going to discuss. The next problem is Mello and Nier. These are the two successors after L was killed. However, we don't see them as that. We see them as fake L's. These are supposed to be individual characters with the same intellect, or not smarter than L, but yet we see them as more placeholders. But that's due to how it went down. You see, Nier, let's go into him. He was the one that was supposed to catch Light. He represents the calm intelligence of L. When he was first introduced, even Light underestimated his own intelligence. However, through acts of his own, he showed how he was different from L. After the evidence was deleted, he spent 5 years collecting all the evidence again by himself. He was more calm, he was more collected than L, and he was able to take a step back and watch from the shadows. L was more, he wanted to be involved, even when he wasn't supposed to, while Nair was someone who could step back and say, I'm gonna wait for you to make a mistake. Mello now is the extreme side of L. He is the side that doesn't mind doing underhand tactics to get the job done, even if that meant turning to the mafia. Now, Mello is just as smart as Nair and L, but it's just his approach that hinders his progress. The most noteworthy thing he did was when his final sacrifice. He realized he couldn't catch Kira on his own, and he was destined to lose. And so, when his life was taken, before he could do so, he buys time by acting unpredictable when kidnapping one of Kira's associates. But he ends up dying. But this does buy Nair enough time to find out who Kira is. But remember, we've used up so much time on Higuchi, we don't have time to go into details about their characters. I mean, in the manga, this second arc took up 48 chapters, when we spent 59 with L. That's 108 in total. In the anime, L was 25 episodes, and Nair and Mello get 11 episodes. That's not even enough time to really flesh out these characters. And so the audience does not get involved. The audience doesn't feel attached to these characters, you know what I'm saying? This one's a personal problem for me, at least, and that's the character of Teru Mikami. I feel like he's such an underutilized character, and he's the one that probably deserves more screen time in the anime. He was obsessed with Kira, and he had this notion of, from a young age, he had a good sense of justice, and he began categorizing people as good or evil. He had such similar values to Light that even Light feared that he may become a better Kira than Light could be. But he was introduced so late in the show. I mean, imagine what could have been if he was, teased in throughout previous chapters, or maybe he met L or Light beforehand, and then he became the third Kira, if you will. And so Light reaches out to him because he needs someone to draw suspicion away from himself. And he does this very well. He's very good at what he does. Light tells him to forge a fake notebook. This way, if he does get caught, then the notebook, it would basically seem like he's not him. However, the same fake notebook gets switched out, and then in the ending of the story, thus Light's plan goes away, ending up in the deaths of both him and, depending on which one, either the manga or the anime, Mikami himself. In the manga, Mikami just renounces Light, because Light at this point realizes he's going to lose, and he's begging for something to happen. This puts Mikami off, and he says, nope, you're not God. He goes to prison, but he mysteriously dies in prison. In the anime, he kills himself with a ballpoint pen. And yeah, but this character deserves so much more. This last problem now is the combination of every other problem, and it's just too long. It's too long. I've heard people say that this should have ended by the time L died. This should have ended at this point. But overall, the anime is 37 episodes long, and we could have finished it maybe episode 20 something. But again, we had to long it out for Nair Mello, the Higuchi problem pushed it even further, and so on and so forth. With the main problems now addressed, we can now turn our attention to how we can resolve them. The first problem we need to solve is the Higuchi problem. Now, that's a relatively easy problem to solve. We don't need to put that much detail about the character. His whole scene, his whole arc can be cut down to maybe 3 episodes. Remember, he's just a scapegoat at the end of the day. He's not this fully fleshed out character with this tragic backstory and so on and so forth. It doesn't add anything to the story, so we usually just cut him out. We could do this in like 3 episodes, with the first one just establishing who he is, and then the next 2 mainly focusing on capturing the character. There you go, that's his whole arc. 3 episodes, lights in the clear. Now he could go after L. Second problem, giving more screen time to Teru. This is another easy problem. We can just introduce Teru earlier on in the series. This could be done through the Kira task force going to meet with him after Kira starts killing. The purpose of this could be, just recruiting more members, checking out the legality of the situation, and at this point, Teru wouldn't be on Kira's side, who would be against him. Because he sees it as, well, murder is murder. You're going against the law, we have to bring you in. And so he wants to help the task force initially. Then you can have a scene with him and L later on in the series, maybe just before Light is arrested. You can have this conversation where it seems like Teru is starting to be brought around to Kira's thinking. Like he's starting to see justice in the way Kira operates. And maybe he reluctantly helps. Like a bit of him really wants to change sides. But again, he's still a prosecutor, so he wants to keep his job. And so he reluctantly helps. And then we can finally see him after the time skip, where he's gladly now a fanatic believer. He fully believes in the actions of Kira. Maybe not the second one, but he believes vividly in the first Kira, because he can tell that's the one and true God in his eyes, right? Thereby, we now introduced his character much earlier on, as well as giving him a nice storyline of how he started off thinking opposite of Light's views. When the more Light operated, he saw the crime rates go down. He saw people being not afraid to leave their houses. He saw criminals being afraid to act. And he started to believe and worship. Next one is Mellow and Ned. This is the big chunk. This is the one we really need to focus on. As stated before, these were just introduced right near in the end of Death Note. So what do? We do the same thing as we did for Teru, right? We introduced them earlier on. Not like fully fleshed out characters, but we hint to them. We hint to this bigger character playing a bigger part. Now this could be done simply through L communicating with hidden individuals. It could be a scene or a panel in the manga where L and Light are just playing a game of checkers, and before they can finish, they're interrupted. Look, it sounds rubbish, but hear me out. Next scene, we see L, and he looks like he's talking to himself, but upon the positioning of the scene and the way it's written, he's talking to a camera. And in a future episode or chapter, you can have Watari asking Roger, we don't know who Roger is, he's just been introduced, if the two have seen the videotape. And they said, no, we're waiting for L's permission. So now what you've done is, you've introduced some mystery person who's apparently keeping their eye on L. And then when L passes away, you can have him mutter a checkers move to Light, which leaves Light confused, dazed, wondering what is he talking about. And he realizes that he's hinting to the game being unfinished. But Light being arrogant, he's just thinking, well, you're doing this because you're dying and you're running out of moves. Later on, you can have Mellow and Nier, when they're introduced, say they chose not to watch the videotape as a challenge, because they are supposed to be the successors. So they want to do just as well as L did, so that's why it took so long to gather the evidence. L had gathered it already, but to prove themselves worthy successors, they gathered it from scratch. Then you could do that about Nier and Mellow, that this is what L was referring to. He still had more pieces on the board. And there you go, you've now dedicated more extra time to the characters that need it. By cutting out, the Higuchi problem, you've now fleshed out Teru, Nier, and Mellow. Not only are you showing that they're worthy successors to L, you're also proving that their own characters are worth fleshing out. I believe this solves some of the issues, and that I've seen within Death Note. Are these perfect fixes? No. These are just quick, story alternatives. Writing a story is a challenging task. It's not easy. It's so easy to make mistakes. So not everyone's gonna feel the same. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks these are genuine mistakes. But this is just me offering up what I would do. Just saying, please let me know if you don't. Let me know what you think. It took me a while to do this. I got a bit ill. The whole life is a chore. I really understood it. But I'm finally glad I got down to sat down, record this. Now I'm going to edit it, ship it out, and see what the masses think. So thank you so much to the Loudmouth Canadian, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
From this moment on, I'll show you the creation of the new world.